Hi, you guys. I'm just gonna say appreciation to people who actually take the time to make videos, because it is not easy to sometimes make a video. As I just noticed, I read this poem 3 times and it didn't really work. And anyway, it's not perfect, but this is the way life is, and I'm just determined to get this out there. But I wanted it to be super relaxed, but that's okay. So I picked up this book. It's called Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, The Best Loved Poems, selected and introduced by Caroline, her daughter. And I just had a couple of things I wanted to read in here. So there's one chapter that's titled Reflection, and it has this nice picture of Jacqueline. And these are Caroline's words, and I just wanted to read it. Okay. Occasionally a poem comes to us almost like a message in a bottle we find while walking along the beach. When we are facing difficult times in our lives, when it may be hard to hear or see things clearly, a poem can carry thoughts from other times or places, from those who have faced similar challenges and whose ability to articulate their experiences can bring moments of insight and calm. These poems explore solitude, loss, and contemplation. They offer solace, wisdom, and hope. I have found that when a poem is passed from one person to another, it deepens in meaning in an almost mystical way. There are poems in this section that meant something to my father, my mother, and my brother. Others came from cousins, friends, and from my husband and my children. My association... I don't like to kill spiders, but I know it's one of my mommy duties, but I missed that one. Oh God, he's over there under my book. Do I kill him? I'm gonna leave him. Okay. Did I read all of it? Or did I not? Okay. By associating these works with people I love, each poem means that much more to me. I hope that by sharing them in this book, these poems will bring the same insight and joy to others. Okay. And then I wanted to read this really mind-blowing poem that Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Yeah. I think there's an R sound on that one. We had a Bouvier when we were young. That was my childhood dog. I love that name. French. Okay. Meanwhile in Massachusetts, by Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. Dang, maybe someday I'll learn how to say that right. Okay. Meanwhile in Massachusetts, Jack Kennedy dreamed, walking the shore by the Cape Cod Sea, of all the things he was going to be. He breathed in the tang of the New England fall, and back in his mind he pictured it all. The burnished New England countryside, names that a patriot says with pride. Concord and Lexington, Bunker Hill, Plymouth and Falmouth, and Marston's Mill, Winthrop and Salem, Lowell, Revere, Quincy and Cambridge, Louisburg Square. This was his heritage, this his share of dreams that a young man harks in the air. The past reached out and tracked him now. He would heed that touch, he didn't know how. Part he must serve, a part he must lead, both were his calling, both were his need. Part he was of New England stock, as stubborn, close guarded as Plymouth Rock. He thought with his feet, most firm on the ground, but his heart and his dreams were not earthbound. He would call New England his place and his creed, but part he was of an alien breed, of a breed that had laughed on Irish hills and heard the voices in Irish tills. The lilt of that green land danced in his blood, Tara, Killarney, a magical flood, that surged in the depth of his too proud heart, and spiked the punch of New England so tart. Men would call him thoughtful, sincere, They would not see through to the last cavalier. He turned on the beach and looked toward his house. On a green lawn his white house stands, and the wind blows the seagrass low on the sands. There his brothers and sisters have laughed and played, and thrown themselves to rest in the shade. The lights glowed inside, soon supper would ring, and he would go home where his father was king. But now he was here with the wind and the sea, and all the things he was going to be. He would build empires, and he would have sons. Others would fall where the current runs. He would find love, he would never find peace, for he must go seeking the golden fleece. All of the things he was going to be, all of the things in the wind and the sea. That's October 1953, inspired by John Brown's Body by Stephen Vincent Benet. Anyway, I wanted to read one other thing which kind of gives you a little bit of insight into the Kennedy family. And this was another thing that Jacqueline wrote. Did I already read this to you guys? Okay. This was in 1980 from books I read when I was young, The Favorite Books of Famous People by Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Read for escape, read for adventure, read for romance, but read the great writers. You will find to your delight that they are easier and more joy to read than the second-rate ones. They touch your imagination and your deepest yearnings, and when your imagination is stirred, it can lead you down paths you never dreamed you would travel. If you read great language, you will develop, without your realizing it, an appreciation of excellence that can shape your life. Read Edgar Allan Poe, Jack London, Jules Verne, Ernest Hemingway, and read poetry, and whatever anthology your school gives you. Rhythm is what should first seize you when you read poetry. Do you know Tarantula by Hilaire Belloc? Read County Cullen, E. Cummings, Emily Dickinson, Siegfried Sassoon. Do you know The Fog by Carl Sandburg? It is modeled on the Japanese haiku, which is only allowed to be 17 syllables long and doesn't have to rhyme. You could try to write a poem like that. If you read, you may want to write. Great painters learn to paint by copying old masters in museums. You can learn to write by trying to copy the writers you like. Writing helps you to express your deepest feelings. Once you can express yourself, you can tell the world what you want from it and how you would like to change it. All the changes in the world, for good or evil, were first brought about by words. 1980. Anyway. One of the greatest gifts my brother and I received from my mother was her love of literature and language. In this anthology, I have tried to include poems that reflect things that were important to her, a spirit of adventure, the worlds of imagination and nature, and the strength of love and family. This is a sweet book. I really like it. So then what I wanted to touch on was, see this nice edge of her husband's book when he was senator that he wrote dedicated to her, to my wife. See, isn't that nice? Okay, what I wanted to tell you is something I noticed when I first got this book is that it kind of has that fun, like, uneven edge. I really like that. And that's the same as his book. And when they're old, you kind of get that velvety texture. So I just wanted to read, says to my wife. I wonder who wrote the foreword of this book. I was trying to remember. Alan Nevins. Anyway, JFK was a nice writer. Oh yeah, and this is John F. Kennedy wrote this preface. Let's read this. Okay, by John F. Kennedy. Okay, since first reading, long before I entered the Senate, an account of John Quincy Adams and his struggle with the Federalist Party, I have been interested in the problems of political courage in the face of constituent pressures and the light shed on those problems by the lives of past statesmen. See, he's such a nice writer. What a great sentence. A long period of hospitalization and convalescence following a spinal operation in October 1954 gave me my first opportunity to do the reading and research necessary for this project. I am not a professional historian, and although all errors of fact and judgment are exclusively my own, I should like to acknowledge with sincere gratitude those who assisted me in the preparation of this volume. I am deeply grateful to Professor Alan Nevins of Columbia University, one of the foremost political historians and biographers of our times, for kindly consenting to contribute the foreword. In addition, the entire manuscript was greatly improved by the criticisms Professor Nevins offered. I owe a special debt of gratitude to an outstanding American institution, the Library of Congress. Throughout the many months of my absence from Washington, the legislative, reference, and loan divisions of the library fulfilled all of my requests for books with amazing promptness and cheerful courtesy. Milton Kaplan and Virginia Diker of the Prints and Photos Division were most helpful in suggesting possible illustrations. Dr. George Galloway, and particularly Dr. William R. Tansel of the library staff, made important contributions to the selection of examples for inclusion in the book, as did Arthur Kroc of the New York Times and Professor James McGregor Burns of Williams College. Professor John Bystrom of the University of Minnesota, former Nebraska Attorney General Sorensen, and the Honorable Hugo Clerk of the Nebraska State Legislature were helpful in providing previously unpublished correspondence of George Norris and pertinent documents of the Nebraska State Legislature. This is mostly a bunch of people's names. So sorry. The greatest debt is owed to my research associate, Theodore C. Sorensen, for his invaluable assistance in the assembly and preparation of the material upon which this book is based. This book would not have been possible without the encouragement, assistance, and criticisms offered from the very beginning by my wife, Jacqueline, whose help during all the days of my convalescence I cannot ever adequately acknowledge. Profiles in Courage. Chapter 1, Courage in Politics. Okay, I'm just going to read the first 2 pages, guys, and then we'll start again another time. Courage in Politics. Just a second, I'm going to take a break. This is my mommy hideout room. It's getting really better. I'm really organizing it. I'll show you guys sometime. I'm getting like everything organized. And somebody might be coming over to finish mowing the lawn, so I might as well read my 2 pages. Okay. This is a book about the most admirable of human virtues, courage. Grace under pressure. Ernest Hemingway defined it. That's amazing. And these are the stories of the pressures experienced by 8 United States senators and the grace with which they endured them, the risks to their careers, the unpopularity of their courses, the defamation of their characters, and sometimes, but sadly, only sometimes, the vindication of their reputation and their principles. Okay, sorry, I think I have to get my dog.